Today, we're going to talk about the most obvious thing that happens to all salespeople, either when you're cold calling or sometimes even when you're following up on a lead. They'll tell you, I'm not interested. If you've ever heard that, raise your hand. We hear that all the time. Even when you're following up on a lead, I'm not interested. Well, wait a minute. Yesterday you filled out a lead card. You're this age or that. You were asking, yeah, well, I was interested yesterday, but I'm not interested today. Well, today we're going to talk about how to overcome, it's called impulsive resistance or impulsive opposition. And I'll show you exactly what I mean. To be a master of sales, you must first understand your customer's psychological process. You have to understand how they buy. The next step is to master the pivots and sequences to guide them through the journey. See, I believe that sales is really nothing more than a series of pivots, psychological pivots in the customer's mind. You don't have to get anxious or nervous about it. It's not a mystery. The customer has to go through a certain psychological process in order to move forward with you. And while every customer is completely different and completely unique and have their own situation, they are exactly the same in terms of their psychological process. So today in this workshop, I'm going to work through the two key sales pivots. These are the first pivots in the sales sequence. We're going to take a customer who's not interested. No, I'm not interested. No, I already have somebody who helps me with that. Nope, I wouldn't be. Oh, call me in 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months. Call me in 2027. I might have a few minutes to talk about it. Now's not a good time. You want to take them from that negative, it's called resistive mindset, and you want to pivot. I call it a jiu-jitsu flip, which I'll show you some videos today, to say, well, all right, I'll give you 1 minute. Then you want to go the next pivot, which this is the hardest part in selling. I can teach anybody how to do the first one. I've taught lots and lots of people to do that, but this next one's a little bit harder. But I'm going to try to simplify it today. But you want to have the customers make a psychological shift from, well, okay, I'll give you 1 minute to tell me whatever it is you want to tell me, to pivot to a psychological state where they're open about whatever it is they want to talk about, where they share their problem, where they do all the talking, where they open up to you and tell you what their issues are. So let me start the first video. I'm going to show you 2 videos in a row.
Hi, I'm Alan Gordon, sales author and founder of the Sales Mastermind Association. The purpose of the association is to help our members rise above the stress, pressure, negativity, and high turnover rate that's so common in sales. And instead, we want to change the way you think about selling, and we're going to use mastermind sales principles to sell from a positive mindset. Now, in this series of videos, I'm going to focus on cold calling, and believe it or not, I'm going to show you how I was able to transform cold calling into a positive mindset. And I've taught thousands of people how to do this. So the first thing I want you to write down in your notebook, you're going to write down cold calling. But number 1, under cold calling, I want you to write down the words opening rate. And I'll explain what I mean. First, let's lay some groundwork about cold calling. Here's a basic truth that we should all be able to agree on. When you cold call, everyone you talk to is resistant. They just want to hang up. They're not interested. Ever hear that before? You can see this in children. It's called impulsive resistance. Do your homework. No. Brush your teeth. No. Go to bed. No. Would you like a free trial? No. What if I could save you time and money? No. I'm just taking a survey. No. Do you get the picture? This is called impulsive resistance. We impulsively say no. See, people buy from people they know. They don't buy from strangers on the phone. So when they hear a stranger on the phone trying to sell them something, they just tell them they're not interested and hang up. So I asked you to write down opening rate, okay? Let's go back to that. Your job, and you have about 2 seconds to do it, is to get past the I'm not interested and then open a conversation that will interest them. And if you fail to do this in the first few seconds, the call is lost. So how on earth can you open a conversation when the person on the other end of the phone just told you that they're not interested? Well, there is a technique that I'm going to teach you. And the great news is you don't need to have a special personality to use this technique. I've taught more than 1,000 people how to do it, and you can definitely do it as well. So in the next video, I'm going to tell you exactly what to say when the customer says they're not interested. You're going to be able to open a conversation like a pro, and cold calling is never going to be a problem for you again. In the meantime, connect with the Sales Mastermind and explore the members library. And I'll see you at the next video.
So what I wanted to get across there was this idea of an opening rate, that it's not how many sales you close, it's how many conversations you can open. And the most difficult thing that we face constantly is people trying to shut us down, impulsive resistance or impulsive opposition. In this course, I'm going to actually, in this video, and by the way, these videos and many more, hundreds more, are in the members library, but I'm sharing these with you today. In this one, I'm going to actually share the technique, what you say when the customer tells you they're not interested.
Welcome back. I'm Alan Gordon, sales author and founder of the Sales Mastermind Association. The purpose of our association is to help our members rise above the stress, pressure, negativity, and high turnover rate that's so common in sales. And instead, we want you to change the way you think about selling and start using mastermind sales principles to sell from a positive mindset. In the last video, we talked about the idea of an opening rate. Well, in this video, I'm going to go pretty in depth explaining a technique that will allow you to open more conversations on a cold call. See, here's my problem with sales. Everybody in sales is focused on their closing rate. Oh my gosh, what are you saying to close them? I want to write it down. Oh, if I could close like you, I'd be rich. Do you see what's happening? They're focused on closing, but nobody ever explained to them how to open a conversation. They struggle with the close because they never learned the right way to open a conversation. And guess what happens? When you get good at opening conversations, your closing rate goes way up because the entire vibe of the relationship is all set in the beginning, in the opening. So let's get back to cold calling. Resistance is the topic of the day, but more importantly, impulsive resistance. And the most frequent impulsive resistance statement that you'll always hear right before they hang up, they're going to tell you, I'm not interested. And it's not that they're not interested. It's just that they want to hang up. It's impulsive resistance. So a show of hands. How many times a day do you hear, I'm not interested, right? It's impulsive resistance. So here's the technique to overcome I'm not interested. It's called a jiu-jitsu flip. And I cover more jiu-jitsu flips in the members library, so you should check that out. But for now, let's talk about the jiu-jitsu flip to handle I'm not interested on a cold call. Now, jiu-jitsu is unlike any other martial art. It's actually the art of using an opponent's momentum to flip them, right? They start out in a negative, and we're going to flip them to a positive. They attack us, but instead of fighting back, right, I move to the side and skillfully execute a flip. And it's the same thing. They tell me they're not interested, and I'm going to flip them to, hey, I guess you are interested. They tell you they're not interested. They start out negative. This is all the flips are structured this way. Start out in a negative frame of mind. You flip them and move them to a positive frame of mind. And I've trained, like I said, more than 1,000 salespeople how to do this flip. Once you get past I'm not interested, once that phrase doesn't bother you anymore, once you start expecting people to tell you that they're not interested and you're ready for it, well, 90% of problems with cold calling disappear. So I'm going to read my script, and then I'm going to tell myself that I'm not interested. My job is to overcome the negative mindset, I'm not interested, by quickly flipping them into a positive mindset where they are willing to talk, where they are interested. And I have about 2 seconds to execute this flip and open the conversation. Hi, I'm Alan Gordon with the Sales Mastermind Association. We work with small businesses to reimagine their sales team around positive mastermind sales principles. Have you heard of mastermind principles? Oh, yeah, I've heard of them, but I'm not interested. Or no, I never heard of them, but I'm not interested. No, I wouldn't be interested. Well, here's the flip, and then I'll break down this technique step by step on the back end. Well, that's exactly why I'm calling, sir. Most small businesses haven't really thought through their sales process. And these sales mastermind principles are fantastic. They're designed to give your salespeople a lot more confidence and comfort in handling the leads that you give them. And their comfort, their confidence results in a higher percentage of leads being converted. So for one small business owner, we actually were able to double lead conversion rate in a period of about 5 or 6 months. Getting your salespeople to convert more leads into paying customers wouldn't hurt your business, right? How many salespeople do you have? So let's break down this jiu-jitsu flip technique step by step. The first thing, they said they weren't interested. I used the flip. Oh, that's exactly why I'm calling. Then bullet points, 2 bullet points. Most people aren't aware of bullet 1, bullet 2. Then I tell an optional story. In this case, one customer actually doubled their lead conversion rate in 6 months. And then finally, I ask a narrow question to open the conversation. How many salespeople do you have? Now, we're going to keep running member workshops so you can customize this flip to your own sale, but it's really, really important to understand the concept. It's a very simple formula. They start out negative. We flip them to a positive mindset. We took them from hanging up on us, I'm not interested, to telling us how many salespeople they have. And now the conversation is started. Here's an example I did for a health insurance company. Oh, blah, 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 I sell health insurance. Would you be interested in health insurance? No, I already have health insurance. I'm not interested. Well, that's exactly why I'm calling. Most people don't realize they have other options with their health insurance. Some might be able to save you 30 or 40% on your monthly premiums and give you better access to doctors. I saved one family more than $600 a month on their premiums. I may be able to save you thousands over the next 12 months. It couldn't hurt to get a quote, could it? What's your zip code? Now, of course, if they give me their zip code, I'm in. The conversation is open. That's how easy it is. I told me they're not interested. I flip them. That's exactly why I'm calling. Bullet point 1, 30-40% savings. Bullet point 2, better doctors. I tell them a story. And then, what's your zip code? A narrow question. Here are some other examples of narrow questions. How many salespeople do you have? What's your zip code? Let me ask you, what is your typical electric bill every month? Let me ask you, when's the last time you got a competitive bid? Let me ask you, how locked in are you with your current marketing team? Do you see how that works? They were about to hang up. Now they're talking to you, giving you some information. Now, let's be realistic. Some people are still going to hang up on you, but others will answer your question. And that's how you open conversations and improve your opening rate. See, this jiu-jitsu flip, this pivot, this is the easiest sales technique you're ever going to learn because they always say they're not interested. So that's exactly why I'm calling. As it turns out, your script is important, but not really that important because it doesn't matter what you say in your opening script. They're going to impulsively tell you they're not interested. Much more important than your script is your skill with this jiu-jitsu flip. This is your key to opening more conversations. This is how you increase your opening rate, which I guarantee will increase your closing rate. Look, a positive mindset is great. I'm all for that. But new salespeople get slaughtered when they cold call because they don't know simple techniques. That's why the Sales Mastermind Association is so important because so many salespeople are needlessly struggling because they don't have access to simple training techniques. Or somebody on the internet wants them to pay $2,000 or $5,000 or $10,000 to teach them these techniques. That's crazy. If you're still feeling stressed about cold calling, then in the next video, I'm going to share a mastermind principle that's going to take all the stress out of cold calling. In the meantime, connect with the Sales Mastermind. Browse the members library, more than 60 hours of my personal sales training that I put in there. Explore everything the Sales Mastermind has to offer and get started on your personal plan to success through positive selling. I'll see you at the next video.
What I just shared with you is something that I've taught this to lots and lots of companies hire me to teach them how to cold call. And this is what I teach them. And remember I told you there are 2 important psychological flips or pivot points in the beginning of the call. The first is they're not interested. Oh, that's exactly why I'm calling. Most people don't realize, what's your zip code? How many sales, when's the last time you had your roof replaced? Whatever you're selling, you ask a very narrow question there that they'll just volunteer the information. And now you're in. Now they've volunteered information. So now the second pivot is what I'm going to talk about next. That's where they say, well, all right, I'll listen to you for like a second. I'll tell you my zip code, but I'm really not going to buy health insurance, so you don't want that. And most people, once they get the zip code or how many salespeople they have, or, when's the last time you replaced your roof, we jump into our presentation. And that's the wrong way to do it. Okay. If you just just jump into your presentation before they share more information, before you do what's called discovery or needs development. You have to do that step. Otherwise, they're not going to buy from you at the end. I use this example. Anytime that you're following up on a lead or talking to somebody who's not necessarily interested, you're selling, but they have what I call psychic energy. They're holding on to all this psychic energy that they need to let it go. And if you just ask them their zip code and then you start, oh, let me tell you how great my insurance is, and you start selling them the insurance, they're still holding on to all this psychic energy. So you have to allow them to release the psychic energy. And this is the next pivot, is to get them to go from a narrow question to now being able to open up into really talking about anything. So I'm going to show you this next pivot. The more they talk, the more they release their psychic energy, the more you can move forward with them in the sale. So let me share my screen again, and I'm going to show you the next pivot once you get past that. Okay, well, the second pivot, I call it, oh, by the way. Okay, so just to pick up where we just left off, okay, you start with non-invasive questions. What's your zip code? What do you typically spend for your electric? But whatever your simple, closed-ended question where they volunteer information. For example, I sold insurance for years, and I would always ask for their age, not their birthday, because their birthday is an invasive question, but their age is a less invasive question. And they understand if they want to get an insurance quote, I need their zip code and their age, and then I can get them a quote. So you start with non-invasive questions, and obviously you adapt this to your own sale. But then you need to broaden to exploratory questions. And this is the hardest part by far, where most salespeople, I could teach you the pivot. This next part, which I made it as easy as I possibly can, but for some reason, most people, as soon as they answer that simple, narrow question, they jump into their presentation. So, you're supposed to ask questions before you start your well, I did ask him a question. I asked him his zip code. I asked him his age. Now I'm going to tell him about the insurance. No, you have to find out how they feel, what their feelings are about insurance, what their experience is. You have to ask these exploratory questions. Why? Number one, because it'll help you sell the insurance. But number two, because it'll allow the customer to release all their pent up energy. They may say, I don't want to talk to you. You're a salesperson. I don't trust salespeople. Oh, great. Tell me more about that. Let them express their energy. But if you just jump into the presentation too soon, you're going to lose the sale, because they are still holding on to their psychic energy. So you start with non-invasive questions, then broaden to exploratory questions. So how do you do this? Well, here are some really simple ways to do this. So again, using the insurance example. So, okay, your zip code is whatever, you're this age, your wife is this age, you have 3 kids. I'm going to go ahead and get you a quote. Oh, by the way, you have Blue Cross, you said, right? What's your experience with Blue Cross in the past? Well, what's been your experience with health insurance in the past? Or, what do you want in a health insurance policy? And you just start the question by saying, oh, by the way, and then you ask them a deep exploratory question. They answered a tiny little question that didn't involve any revealing on them. It didn't allow them to release any psychic energy. But now you just say, oh, by the way, while I'm working up this quote, what has been your experience with health insurance in the past? What's most important to you with your health insurance? Whatever you're selling, obviously you adapt it for that, right? It's the simplest way to just pivot into an open-ended question. Don't feel uncomfortable asking these exploratory questions. Most salespeople, this is the hardest part for most salespeople. They feel like they're intruding, or they're burdening the customer's time. I like to say, like, most salespeople, they feel like the way they sell, it's like they're walking in line to shake hands with the president. Move along. You can't really talk to the president. Just shake the hand and move on. You have like a fraction of a second to make eye contact, say hi, and then move on. I got to start my presentation, because if I wait too long, they're not going to be, they're going to tell me they're busy. So you have to learn to relax. You have to learn to, I'm not going to start my presentation until I've done a thorough discovery of as much as I can get out of them. I want them to, even if it's negative. Oh, I hate health insurance, or I hate salespeople. I'm never going to work with anybody over the phone. It doesn't matter to me what they say. Let's say I ask, what's been your experience with health insurance in the past? I hate health insurance. I'm not going to have health insurance anymore. It doesn't matter to me what they say, positive or negative. They're releasing their psychic energy. And what that happens is, unconsciously, you're building a bond of trust with them. The more they share with you, the more they release to you, not just information, but emotion and energy. Hang on one second. That was nice of them to give me a warning. So sorry about that. And I think everything, still hear me? Everything good? All right. Thank you, David. You're just true. David says my computer was releasing its psychic energy. How true. All right. Well, good. All right. So again, we've got them to answer a narrow question. That's the first goal. That's the first pivot to, so from, yeah, I'm going to hang up on you, I'm not interested, to, oh, okay, I'll give you my zip code and whatever, or, what, I'll tell you what I pay on my electric bill, whatever your sale is. And then as you're whatever thinking or whatever, you just break the ice. You say, oh, by the way, what are your deepest personal feelings about health insurance? You can ask them any question. You can go as deep as you want, because it's called a pattern interrupt. You're talking about one thing. Now I'm just going to shift and I'm just going to talk about something different. If you can get comfortable with this little icebreaker, oh, by the way, and I'll show you two more. If you just get comfortable with this, all of a sudden, look what happened. You're asking the customer deep, deep, deep questions about their business, their personal life, whatever it is that you're trying to sell. It's the key. It's the most important pivot. And for some reason, most people really struggle with this. They answer a question, oh, my zip code is whatever, my age is this. Okay, great. Let me show you my insurance. And they go into their presentation way, 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 way too soon. That's not selling. And that's not asking questions. That's not doing discovery. Just finding out their zip code doesn't count. So this is the simplest little pivot, takes 2 seconds. If you can become comfortable with this, you win. Your sales are going to go way up because your opening rate will go up. Or as you're, okay, I'm going to do a little research on your health insurance, and, I'll call you back, in an hour, I'll have some information for you, whatever it might be. I probably should ask you, what's been your biggest concern? Again, it's called a pattern interrupt. Okay, you've given me some narrow information. Okay, your electric bill averages $100 a month. Okay, great. Let me ask you, when's the last time you replaced your air conditioning system? Or, whatever. Just ask a as deep question as you want. What's been your biggest obstacle? What's been your biggest struggle? What do you like? What's most important to you about fill in the blank, your health insurance, your marketing campaign, your research and development? Again, it's a way to go from very narrow, simple, easy to ask questions to deeper, broadening questions. And then another way to say it, and these are just 3 different techniques. And by the way, I'm going to post all this on YouTube in a day or two, and it'll be up there on the YouTube channel. You may say, while I'm doing this research, I talked to a lot of people who had a really big problem with whatever. What's been your experience? These are very, very powerful techniques. The second pivot is the key to selling. The first pivot is the key to talking to more people. So instead of them hanging up, I wouldn't be interested. No, I already have somebody who handles that. Oh, that's exactly why I'm calling. Most people don't realize blah, 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 blah. Bullet 1, bullet 2, little story. It couldn't hurt to get a quote. It couldn't hurt to find out a little bit more, could it? Let me ask you, what is your average, whatever you want to say, what is your zip code? And they'll answer your zip code. Oh, by the way, what's been your experience with health insurance in the past? Because you would never ask that question in the very beginning, because they're just literally about to hang up. But you don't have to wait a certain period of time to ask. You just ask the question and open up and ask whatever question you want, as deep, personal, impactful, anything you want to ask them. You just ask them by using these pattern interrupts. Oh, by the way, I probably should ask you, what's been the biggest challenge you've faced in your marketing effort? I ask them, how long have you had your marketing agency now? Well, we've been with them for 10 years. Oh, wow. Okay. So you're probably pretty happy with them. I probably should ask you, what's been the biggest challenge with your marketing over the last couple of years? What are you trying to accomplish that you haven't been able to accomplish? And all of a sudden, you see how you're now an advisor? You shift from being a nervous person who's about to get hung up on. You get past that. Just sweep that objection, sweep that impulsive resistance aside by doing the jiu-jitsu flip, asking them a simple question, and then do a pattern interrupt. And now you're asking big questions, deep questions, important questions. I hope that makes sense. This one tip, well, both of these tips, the jiu-jitsu flip, that's exactly why I'm calling, or that's the reason for my call, or that's why I'm reaching out to you today. Most people aren't aware, blah, blah, blah. Then I can help you create these for whatever you're selling. We do these workshops in the members area, so we can customize all this to you. It's really easy. But this is the next key: to have a series of deep, value-driven questions, exploratory questions that you can ask right off the bat and move from a nervous conversation to a deeper connection with them, do a deep dive into their issues. So I want to share with you, that's what I have to say today, and I'll leave plenty of time for questions. I do want to share with you, though, about the Sales Mastermind Association. The first mission that we have is to create a positive narrative for the sales profession. I've always asked myself this question: who's in charge of the sales profession? Like, I just formed this association a few months ago, but I've been asking for years, who's in charge of the sales industry? Like, who's in charge of that? I know, like, if I was a teacher, there's the Department of Education, there's the local school district, there's the teachers union, and, they have all kinds of resources and materials for me. If I'm a teacher, I'm kind of inside a structure. If I'm a firefighter or a police officer, I'm inside a structure. There's a structured environment for most professions. But the truth is, salespeople are no different than teachers and firefighters and accountants. We do a very difficult and specialized job that very few people want to do. And that job is crucially important for the companies that we work for. Everyone thinks of salespeople in a negative way. A lot of pressure, sleazy, sales tactics. Let me talk to my manager, see if I can get you a discount, the whole car salesman thing. And over the last years, maybe a couple of decades, the sales profession has taken a real hit in terms of its image. I want to switch that. I want to create a positive narrative for the sales profession. Number two, we want to help business owners and sales managers rethink their relationship with their salespeople. I want to show, and I do show, I talk to small businesses all the time. I want to show them that their salespeople are very valuable. They should compensate them fairly and reward them when they succeed and when they have really high achievement. Most business owners and most business owners have no sales plan. They have no sales experience. They view sales as an expense. Or, the guy told me he could sell. He tells me what a great salesman is. I put him in, my sales room and he can't sell one thing. Well, the reason is because you don't treat them right. You don't give them the right resources and the right materials. So we want to show small business owners how to give salespeople the right support, how to give them good compensation plans. Flipping it another way, what I really want to do is save salespeople from all the shitty jobs that they have to work at. I'm tired of salespeople working for negative companies, negative sales managers. I don't like that. And so if I get a chance to talk to the business owner and the sales manager, we're going to have them rethink their relationship and start to treat us like real people, like we deserve to make a living, like we are doing the actual hardest job in the company, right? If it was so easy, why don't you do it yourself? And the answer is it's hard work. You got to follow up and repeat and follow up, and they're not in, and then reschedule and the whole thing. Then they say they're not interested. There's a lot of work that you have to do, and you have to be very skilled to be successful. I want business owners and sales managers to appreciate and value their salespeople much, much more. The third thing, and this is really important to me, one of the most important missions of the Sales Mastermind Association is to preserve the nearly extinct but vitally important skills of listening and building trust. Listening has essentially disappeared in our society. This idea of connecting with other people, building a bridge of trust, building a connection where you actually are helping a person. You're not trying to sell them. You're not focused on your commission. You're focused on learning about them, really trying to understand their situation, really seeing if you can match and help them, and really turn the corner and help their business turn the corner, or as a family, help them save money, or whatever it is that you're selling. You have to learn to listen and build trust. 95% of salespeople don't listen. Like I said, I'll give you, like I said, well, what's your zip code? Oh, my zip code's this. And what's your age? Well, I'm, 40 years old. Okay, great. Here's my insurance. And they just jump into their presentation, as opposed to listening to the customer, finding out what they like and what they don't like, and allowing them to release all that psychic energy. But here's why listening is even more important than that. Listening is a skill that transcends all aspects of your life. And what I mean by that is, I say in one of my videos, Here's why it's important to be a good listener. If you're a bad listener in sales, if you don't really understand how to open a connection with your customer, if you don't know how to build trust with your customer, if you don't understand the skill of listening, if you're constantly interrupting or changing the subject, or it's called one-upmanship, someone will tell you, "Oh, I'm so proud, my daughter's going to University of North Carolina." Oh, well, my son, he's in ninth grade and he's already got scholarship offers from, you change the subject back to yourself. That's not listening. You think it's building rapport, but the customer just said he's proud of his daughter, as opposed to saying, wow, you must be so proud of her. Does she know what she's going to major in? Let the guy talk. Listen to them, right? If you're not a good listener in sales, if you don't know how to do these pattern interrupts and how to shift to deep exploratory questions, I can tell you, if you're not good at listening in sales, you're not a good listener with your husband or your wife. You're not a good listener with your children. You don't just turn it on and turn it off like a switch. Listening is more than a skill. It's more than a skill. It's a way of being. It's valuing other people. It's the ability to empty yourself momentarily and allow other people to express. And if you don't do that when you sell, you're not doing it with your husband or your wife. You're not doing it with your kids. And when you don't listen to other people, they pull away from you. If you don't listen, like I say, if I get the zip code, the ages, and I start presenting my insurance, when I get to the end, I'm shocked that they're not going to buy from me. I'm saving them so much money, but they still are holding all their psychic energy. They don't trust me. I didn't build a connection. But the opposite is true. If I ask those questions, if I let them speak, if I let them express themselves, they always buy from me. Always, because they trust me. They're willing to move forward. And if you can learn to do that, that's why I love sales, because it gives me a platform to make myself a better person, to improve my own interpersonal skills, which I then apply to all aspects of my life. And it's such an important skill. And in our society, we become completely fractionalized. Everybody's in their own little world and no one connects anymore. And I want to preserve that skill of connection. We talked about this in our members meeting last night. We talked about how to build a deep, deep, deep listening connection with anybody that you want to connect with. And then finally, our mission as an association is to provide free, high quality sales training to anyone in the world, similar to what we talked about today. I don't hold anything back in these workshops. I'm not keeping some secret technique. I personally believe, this is my personal belief, that I think there are about 1 billion people in the world, 1 billion with a B, whose livelihood depends on their ability to sell today. If they don't sell, they don't make money. If they can get better at selling, their family will have more money. I believe it is a human right to be able to learn how to sell. That's how important I think selling is. And I think it is outrageous that somebody would charge hundreds, thousands of dollars to somebody who's struggling, has no money, desperately needs to get a paycheck by Friday, needs to understand how to make a sale, and they have no skills. They're getting swamped and slaughtered. They get stuck on the phones. I think it's a terrible thing. I would never charge a person for that. So as an association, we will always provide free, high quality sales training to anybody who shows up. I'm really happy you guys are here. There's 15 of you here. I'm excited. I wish there were 15 million, because honestly, everybody deserves to learn how to sell. No strings attached. I told you, we're an industry association trying to create a positive narrative for salespeople. This is a big, big part of how we give to the sales industry. So thank you for that commercial, and I'll wrap it up there, and I will open for Q&A. Any questions or comments? Any thoughts at all? Danny, I just want to make sure, you and I talked yesterday. Did I address your question about how to get into deeper exploratory?
You did, yeah. Labeling emotions was a big one too. Like, oh, you seem excited about that, or you seem frustrated about this when someone, talks about their issues, for example, on the call. I ask all my clients, what's going to be important to you when shopping for a health insurance plan? What other
Exactly.
questions are you asking besides that question as well?
Oh, it doesn't really matter what you ask. It's just the honestly, the emotional experience of them emptying themselves, them releasing, and it's building that bond of trust that's more important than the specific details. If you don't ask any questions, just jump right into your presentation, they're still holding on to all their issues. And when you get to the end, what a shock, they don't trust you because they don't They don't connect with you. All you really want to do is connect. So I can talk to you offline about, some areas of questioning that we can go into.
Mm-hmm.
But truthfully, the most important thing is that you allow them, give them the space to express themselves, and for you to empty yourselves and actually listen. So don't think about your next question while they're answering that one, because it doesn't really matter what they're saying. What matters is they're talking. Even if they're complaining, I hate salespeople, I don't want to buy anything over the phone. Good, tell me more. And what you said is really important, and I talk about that inside the in the members library. I just released that series on listening videos, on listening skills. What you just talked about earlier was called empathetic listening. When somebody says something, there's two parts. There's what they say and what they feel about. But so if you're selling marketing services, I know some folks on here sell marketing. If you sell marketing service, oh man, I'm so frustrated with marketing. I don't trust any of you guys. I spend all this money on marketing and I don't get any results. Wow, you seem really frustrated with those experiences. Tell me more. That's all you have to say. Damn right, I'm frustrated. That's why I'm saying it. Even if it's negative, you're still winning, because they're letting it all go, and they can't trust you until they empty all of whatever they're holding on to.
No, yeah, I think this training's great because I've noticed my easiest sales are when I have a really good first conversation. I remember when you were in the office, you'd always say, if the first 5, 6 minutes of the conversation can be much more important than the last 5 minutes. So when I've let clients spill their guts out, it's a much easier process. Whereas I've noticed when I get into like the quote and the pricing and just kind of go into the presentation, there's no trust, there's no bond there. And I'm wondering, why is this person signing up? Logically, it makes so much sense, but I skip the connecting part in the beginning, which caused a lot of objections internally.
Exactly. And here's the thing that always bothers me about negative selling or negative mindset. You'll get to the end, you're saving them, say, $500 a month. It's obvious they should have done that, but they say no to you. And then you say, someone says, why didn't they buy? Your manager comes to you, why didn't they buy? Oh, buyers are liars, man. That guy just lied to me. He said he had to check with his wife, blah, blah, blah. He's not lying. He's just wiggling off the hook because he doesn't like you. It's not that he doesn't like you. He doesn't trust you. He doesn't have an energetic connection with you. We talked yesterday about creating an energetic path, an invisible path between you and the other person that really deepens and once you have that path, they're going to buy. If they're qualified, they're going to buy from you. Why wouldn't they? What are they going to go through? 5 other salespeople? They have to buy from you because they trust you. I used to teach people walking into a store. I taught this guy had like 3 carpet stores, and I taught his salespeople, got them all together early in the morning and trained them. So I literally watched them, before a couple of days before I did the training, and someone would walk in and, the salesperson would go up to the couple and say, "Can I help you?" "No, thanks, just browsing." "Okay, if you need anything, let me know. I'll be over here." And then the couple, they don't understand how to build a connection. If it was me, I'd say, "Oh, what are you shopping for?" "Oh man, we have so many different options. Let me kind of narrow your choices for you. Are you looking for linoleum or tile or carpeting? Great. Okay, you're looking for carpeting. What room? What other rooms?" You expand the opportunity. And within 3 minutes, they'll buy anything from me. What are they going to do? Go to 5 other carpet stores? Of course, they're not shopping for carpet. They're shopping for someone that's going to listen to them. Right. And that's an example where they're coming into the store and salespeople still blow it. When they're coming in shopping for what you're looking for, they still blow it because they don't know how to listen. They don't know how to build that trust connect. All you got to do is whatever you're selling, whatever the scenario, and most of us, we got to call leads or cold calling, to find our leads or call people that we don't know. It's that first minute where you open with a flip. That's exactly why I'm calling, blah, blah, blah. It couldn't hurt to get a quote. What's your zip code? They give you the zip code. Great. Oh, by the way, what are your deepest feelings about health insurance? What are you looking for? What are you worried about? What's been your experience in the past? There's a million questions you can ask, and the questions themselves don't matter. It's the energetic connection that you're developing. Like you said, Danny, if you do well in the first 3 or 4 minutes of the call, you'll almost always close them. People will even buy from you, even when it was the same price or higher. People would still buy from me because at least they have, and you can trust me. I'll be your agent. I sold millions and millions of dollars, and you can trust me. I'll be your agent. Well, of course they can trust me because all I did was listen to them for 3 or 4 minutes.
How do you pivot when you ask a question and someone's being, has their guard up, is short with you, and not really expanding on your question?
Yeah, so you want to ask a series of short questions, narrow, I call them non-intrusive questions, just fact questions.
Yeah, I saw
Um,
that. Okay.
yeah, just ask a couple of fact questions, and then while you're, typing something, okay, let me look some things up here. Maybe I'll be able to save you some money. Oh, by the way, or I probably should ask you, what do you have now? What's your experience with that? What do you like? What don't you like? And not, and I be the first to tell you, I didn't sell everybody. I wasn't able to break the ice with everybody. Nobody can, because it's a personality thing. Not everybody's my cup of tea, and I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I get that. But while everyone else in the office, oh, the lead sucked, the lead sucked, the lead sucked. I would find one person that day who would talk to me and close them. And how are you doing this? What are you saying? What's your close? How are you closing them? It's not the close, dude. It's the opening. It's building the relationship in the beginning. And then the manager gives me more leads because I'm the one closing them. And everyone's, oh, the lead sucked. How are you getting? I don't know. I just found one person that day who would open a conversation with me. And there were a lot of people, Danny, you ask them the short questions. They don't want to go into the open questions. You called me. I didn't need health insurance. You called me. All right, move on. Next. I tried, I swung at it 3, 4 times, couldn't get him to do it. Hang up and move on. Then I'd swap the leads with you. I'll give you 10 people I can't close. You give me 10 people you can't close. And then all of a sudden I can close yours and you can close mine because there's a different personality. Does that all make sense, everybody? Let me look in the chat here. What do we have? Andrew has to leave. No problem. Thanks for the awesome present. Jim, after 40 years of sales, you're opening my mind up to new. You're very welcome, Jim. You're very, very welcome. No problem at all. I'm happy. I'm really happy you're here. I'm happy you found me. I'm happy you found this. And maybe you'll consider, joining the mastermind and becoming part of what we're doing inside there. It does really pain me to watch, Danny and I've known Danny for about 4 years now, maybe 5 years. And, new people would come to the office every day. And I knew that the reason they were here, they weren't here because they were millionaires. They were here because they needed to make money by Friday. And they were sold this thing like, if you come here, you're going to make money. And then it's my job to help them make money. And so I would tell them, look, I'm going to do everything I can to get you a commission check by Friday. And if I can't do it by this Friday, I'm definitely going to get you one by next Friday. I did everything I could to help them. But the truth is, if they hadn't met me, all they would do is get stuck on the phone on a dialer, and everyone's going to tell them they're not interested. Every single person's going to say they're not interested. Every single person, I don't want health insurance. No, I said I was interested yesterday, but I'm not interested today. Nobody likes to be cold called. Nobody likes if they're a lead. Nobody likes when you follow up on a lead. Just like you, when you're sitting there, watching TV and somebody comes, who is this? You just hang up the phone. Right? I don't want to talk to you. It's just human nature. So it's your job, and it doesn't work every time. But if you can get good at it, like I got good at it, you can make a ton of money, because the whole point of sales is just to get them to talk. Positive, negative, I couldn't care less what they're saying. They haven't hung up on me. I got this. And I, by the way, this is out of sequence. I'm teaching you the opening here. Next week, I'm going to talk about the next pivot into the presentation and give you some ideas for your presentation. And again, obviously you have to apply it to your own sale. Then I already have, and it's on YouTube. I have the close. And then if they don't close on the first swing, I show you how to take additional swings. I call it don't take no for an answer, how to get tenacious in closing. If they don't close the first time, don't let it go. Keep going and going and going. Me personally, I take 3 or 4 swings at it, and then I joke around with them. I say, hey, I hope you don't mind me doing my job. I just, tried to get you to do this today. No, I don't mind today. And all of a sudden the conversation's open again, and I can take another swing at it. It's all about getting them to talk, not about your presentation. Your presentation is the least important part of the sale. Short, sweet, move on to the close. The presentation doesn't matter. It's the trust that you build in the beginning, the trust that you build in your presentation. Now at the end, when you're asking them to really trust you, you have built the trust. You've spent the time building trust. But if you just jump from the beginning into your presentation and you skip the psychic energy part, it's very difficult to close somebody who's closed up like that.